all this needs to be grappled with in the next couple of years because of the lead times necessary if you decide to sell, that you need that 3-year period to talk about this, or if you're going to do your own generation and keep the utility, you need that time to fix the power generation, work out all the tie lines and everything, or if you choose to do contracts for purchase. Everything's on the table. The reason we're approaching it this way, and this has been discussed ad nauseum, ad infinitum, is you don't go and say to somebody, make me an offer on something as complicated as an electric utility without understanding all the components and their prices. For example, you have pension liabilities with your electric utility. You need to put that on the table and attach some numbers to it. The best idea is to come up with a price of what you think it's worth, and that's your starting point in any negotiations. Make a move price, and that's the reason we're proceeding with it this way. So over the next couple of years, the Electric Utility Advisory Board and the Open Public Forum is having this discussion for the first time with the intent of giving you the ability to have that option to put the utility up for sale if you choose to. And all this is going to be put out there together. I had a meeting with FPNL's new representative, Max Macon, and I told him that as well. And I said very clearly, it's our intent to value the system as best we can so that you have a starting point in these discussions. And you know, our intent is to make sure that this city, if they choose to sell it, they get what the value of the system is worth and not have a fire sale. So those things, I guess it's a little more than just saying we're considering it. We're considering all the options, and sale is one of them. And we're starting with the very methodical and thoughtful process of valuing first. So I don't know if that gives you a Reader's Digest thumbnail. There's a lot of moving parts going on, but it's definitely part of the discussion.
Thank you. And the question from everybody else would be, and what is that time frame?
We have a 5-year window that you have to have a decision. So backing up over the next couple of years, you really have to make these tough choices in the next couple of years to give you the lead times.
No, I understand what you're saying, but in reference to making that valuation, how long is it going to take to make the valuation?
We have a 2-year period. It shouldn't take 2 years.
Okay.
It's starting, and this is where I encourage everybody, the Electric Utility Advisory Board meetings are the places where that's taken off and starting, and they're going to be vetting this information. They're putting together their timelines right now.
Okay.
Their next meeting is April the 11th here at the City Hall. And I encourage you, come to the meeting or listen in, it's broadcast.
Okay, we didn't have anything under the Lake Worth Electric Utility item tonight, so I just, you know, that should really, at least, if we could, under there, at least give an update as to what's going on in regards to our plan, our exit from
If you wanted to,
just a little up, you know, just if it could be just a little
with
something as to progress, you know, in regards to our electric utility. We're going to put it on the agenda. We should at least have a little, or at least a monthly update.
Okay.
Of what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have one more.
Commissioner Mercer.
And the other thing I had was addressing Mr. Tim. I can assure you, I can speak for everyone sitting up here, that we are doing everything we can to boost our tax revenue. We have not sat back for the last year and a half. We've retooled our code department, given them the tools to move forward with more teeth, given PDSO more teeth to actually address the issues we have, and I can assure you that we are moving forward as fast as we can legally to move forward and to get code restructured, and it's been on the top of all our lists to actually bring more revenue to the city. So I can assure you that we've all been working on that.
Commissioner McCoy, anything?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One that I don't think relates, well, I don't know, yes, it did relate to some of the comments. I'm just looking at my calendar here, and I see for February 11th and March 11th, Sister City Board meeting on my calendar with canceled and struck out on it. So don't know what the deal is, but that's what's on my calendar, and I didn't cancel it. So a little concerned about that. On some of the other items, I'm glad that we heard from Mr. case, I believe it is, it's always helpful to get indications from people in the community of safety issues. And I take it that we've listened to that and are transmitting that to Commission City Manager. Okay. I agree with Mr. Tim that I think there is a feeling in our community that we are not taking care of the community as well as we should be in order to thrive as well as we would like to, and that it's probably going to take some money to do that. I think we all need to be putting our caps on as to where that additional money might come from, and I think our goal here as elected officials is very much to provide for the residents of the community the services that you need for the community to thrive, and to do that at the best possible price. But as I've said at other meetings, focusing only on the price without looking at what the level of service is, that concerns me. So I'm glad that people are speaking up as far as giving us some guidance on are we doing as much as we need to do. Concerning FP&L, I think all of you are probably aware of my views on the wisdom of selling our utility and the value of having it. I would point out two things. One is people that I hear from who are in the industry and are familiar with things all say that it is, if you have a utility and you have the permits and you have all the things that go with it, do not give that up unless you really, really know what you're doing, because you're giving up a lot of flexibility, a lot of things that other places don't have. So that's one point. I noticed recently in an article in the New York Times that a number of communities around the US are actually doing the reverse of what we are talking about here. They are asking to take over private utilities for electric power generation and turn it into a public, municipally owned utility. Boulder is doing it. There's some other communities that are doing it. They've decided that actually, and it's interesting, one of the things they mentioned was something that somebody mentioned in public comment today, responsiveness. Municipal utilities actually tend to do better on getting things fixed and faster than the private ones, which has been the case in Lake Worth, actually, as we've seen. So, and in that direction, I agree with the city manager's comment that if you're going to put your house up for sale, you wouldn't want to take the first offer that wanders by. You'd want to have some idea what you think it's worth. In thinking about that, I would ask that we make sure that we bring in some expertise on that rather than just thinking about it on our own, and I'll explain why. When you're selling something that's basically a physical good, it's pretty easy to come up with some sort of reasonable value for it. The value of our utility to a buyer, like a private utility, is got nothing to do with the physical things. It's got almost nothing to do with it. It has to do with the market of available power, extra power generation, and the need for customers. So if you have a utility that's added extra generation capacity and doesn't know what to do with it and needs customers, then we're very valuable. Not for our physical plant, but for our customer base. That's not so easy to evaluate, and it's also a moving number. It just depends on what the generation climate is, it depends on fuel costs. So I would be cautious in us proceeding forward and thinking that it's a pretty straightforward thing to get a value for it, and that's our starting number to sell.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, very briefly on the FP&L issue. You know, we sat here just a couple of months ago when we made the decision on who was going to provide us the wholesale energy, and we made a conscious decision that we were going to approach the next 5 years with parallel objectives. And I think, Mike, you pointed that out very well earlier. And, you know, I am still convinced and comfortable with that plan. Now, I understand there are folks in the community who are, you know, anxious